What happens to a child when someone close to them dies? Today, we're learning about a wonderful new program that's helping children and families through the grieving process. Let's talk about it.
Welcome to My Healthy Mind. I'm Michael Hunter, and this is Elizabeth Atkins. Each week on My Healthy Mind, we talk openly about difficult situations that can impact mental health and well-being. We discuss a variety of issues that many people struggle with on a daily basis and are sometimes too afraid to talk about.
Our guests include people who are willing to tell their personal stories about how they've overcome challenging problems that range from mental health issues to abuse to addiction. By sharing their personal struggles, our guests give us the opportunity to talk openly about these subjects and answer questions that you, our viewers, may have.
We also invite experts and experienced professionals to talk about valuable resources for individuals and families to help them begin a journey toward better health. Elizabeth, tell us what we're going to talk about today.
Michael, today we're talking about the subject of loss. How do people grieve when someone close to them dies? It's something that will affect all of us throughout our lifetimes. And it raises even more emotions when we talk about a child who has experienced loss. What happens to a child when someone close to them dies? How do they respond, and how can their families help?
Well, we're about to get some answers from Peggy Nilsson, who is the program director of Sandcastles. And she's going to tell us about a grief support program that is especially designed for children from ages 3 to 18. It also provides grief support for their adult family members as well.
And later in our program, we'll meet a young lady who suffered a tremendous loss when she was only 12. She'll be accompanied by her mother, who was able to seek help for the family from Sandcastles. We're also going to hear from a young man who attended Sandcastles Grief Support Camp and now volunteers to help others. Please join us after the break.
Sandcastles Camp Air in Detroit is a bereavement camp for 1st through 12th graders who have experienced the death of a loved one. We come together for a weekend at Camp Tamarack in Ortonville. Our camp is run in collaboration with the Moyer Foundation and is part of the Camp Air network of over 40 camps across the United States. By the time we get to the camp closing ceremony, the kids have bonded and become friends. You can really see the growth and the healing that has taken place over just a few days. For our camp volunteers, it's a rewarding experience that won't soon be forgotten. Anyone interested in getting involved with Sandcastles as a family, as a camper, or as a volunteer can check out our website or give us a call. We'd be happy to give you more information and get you enrolled.
Stress, depression, and severe mental illness can happen to anyone. Team Mental Health Services has been helping those struggling with these conditions in southeastern Michigan. Within 24 hours of reaching out to our team, members receive psychiatric evaluations and begin the necessary treatment for recovery. Team Mental Health Services prides itself on going the extra mile for its members.
And it was towards the 6th court date. I finally stood up and said, I can handle this process the rest of the way. And it was all because of the motivation and encouragement I got from Team Mental Health staff.
Team Mental Health Services, because we care and you can.
Welcome back to My Healthy Mind. With us today is Peggy Nilsson, Program Director for Sandcastles, a grief support program in Metro Detroit. Peggy, tell us about the Sandcastles program.
Henry Ford Sandcastles is a grief support program for families who've experienced the death of a loved one, and we serve children between the ages of 3 and 18 and their parent or guardian. We have a couple different features to the program. We have a year-round support group that meets at 8 different program sites throughout the 3 counties. We have a camp that we run for a weekend in August. We have school-based programming that we do, and we do community education. So pretty much anybody who wants to learn about grieving children, we're willing to talk to.
And how do you know when a child needs help?
Any child between, in those age ranges, 3 to 18, who has experienced a death is welcome to join us. We look at it as, there was a quote that someone said once, that if you're old enough to love, you're old enough to mourn, which means even babies grieve. We start at 3 because that's where you start interacting as a little person and be able to work in a group situation. But we support the family as a whole. So families come to us with all types of death that they have. We're a division of Henry Ford Hospice, but we're open to the community at large. So it allows families, sometimes we have cancer deaths or heart attacks or homicides or suicides or accidental deaths, a very large range. And the people who were related to them might be mom, dad, brother, sister, grandma, grandpa, best friend, doesn't matter.
And how long is the program for the individual who's participating?
It is an open-ended program, which means families can join at any point after the death and can stay as long as they have the need. So sometimes we get families who call right away, and we are able to kind of help them with that initially. And sometimes families do okay or have other resources, but they see their kids needing help or needing some additional support, maybe 3 months, maybe a year, maybe 4 years after the death has occurred. The thing about grief is that you have to go through it. So if you don't go through it at the time, it kind of stays with you in some way. And you do go through it, it shows up in different ways throughout your life. So our goal is to be able to help the kids when they're young and they're going through it and give them the tools to be able to keep addressing that throughout their life.
So Peggy, take us to what services are delivered and how. When a child arrives at your center, what happens?
So the families come as a whole. We use community volunteers who go through a pretty decent training and help us with our staff. They come as a whole and we share dinner together first, and then we break off into individual groups based on age. The kids in group have a chance to get to know the other kids. They share about their death. We talk about coping skills, those big feelings of grief. What do you do with them? How do you release them in a safe way? Because we all have those feelings, and really it's not about the feeling, it's about what you do with it. So I can be angry, but I can't go punch my little brother or kick the cat or anything like that. I need safe ways to release those feelings. So we talk about feelings. We talk about the death and the experience of the person who died and what they went through. And we memorialize. Twice a year we do memorials, candlelight memorials and different memorials to honor the person who died, where they get a chance to share stories and do different things like that. So the groups, they're the same groups every week, and they kind of go through that process. They have an opening circle, they have a discussion, they have an activity. They create a safe place for them to share with each other and learn.
And are you getting a lot of support from the community, and are people contacting you through social media or anything?
We have a website. It's aboutsandcastles.org that gives more information about the program. We are free of charge to all of our families. A lot of the families that come in have had one of the primary breadwinners in the family die. So they're in a whole different financial status than they were before the death. And we are a support group. We don't provide therapy, we actually provide support. So we don't worry about insurance reimbursement or anything like that. So the families are, we ask for donations, but we completely fundraise our budget every year, so we always need help with that. We have people from the community who do fundraisers and do all sorts of things. We also use community volunteers, as I mentioned. And we have a fantastic training that they go through. So they don't need any background specifically. They don't have to be a counselor before they come. But once they get through our training, they will have all the tools and comfort level to help facilitate in the kids' groups.
And in addition to helping the children, Peggy, you help the parents as well, correct?
Yes, a very important component. We found that it's great to provide that support to the kids and to help them, but the parents are struggling as much. And so they have an adult group that meets at the same time as the kids groups, and they talk about their own grief, but they also talk about their kids. And they may say, my child said this or did this, or this is what happened in school. And they're able to hear other stories from everybody else in the group and learn.
Thank you, Peggy, for helping to raise our awareness about the services that are available for children who are grieving. We'll have Peggy back after this short break, and she's going to talk about an annual summer camp that helps children who are grieving. We'll also meet a young girl named Alexis Officer with her mother, Bridget Officer, who have used the services of Sandcastles, and they'll talk about how it's helped them. We'll be right back.
Sandcastles Camp Air in Detroit is a bereavement camp for 1st through 12th graders who have experienced the death of a loved one. We come together for a weekend at Camp Tamarack in Ortonville. Our camp is run in collaboration with the Moyer Foundation and is part of the Camp Air network of over 40 camps across the United States. By the time we get to the camp closing ceremony, the kids have bonded and become friends. You can really see the growth and the healing that has taken place over just a few days. For our camp volunteers, it's a rewarding experience that won't soon be forgotten. Anyone interested in getting involved with Sandcastles as a family, as a camper, or as a volunteer can check out our website or give us a call. We'd be happy to give you more information and get you enrolled.
It began with my big toe. That was my first amputation that I had.
Berger's disease, it's a vascular disease brought on by smoking.
My fingers started to go piece by piece.
First it was my left leg. After my left leg, it was my right leg. And so now I'm a double amputee, all from smoking.
My tip to everyone is, don't believe that this can't happen to you, because it can.
You can quit. For free help, call 1-800-QUIT-NOW.
Welcome back to My Healthy Mind. We're pleased to welcome Bridget Officer and her daughter Alexis, who have used the services of Sandcastles following their family's very personal and tragic loss. Bridget, we'll start with you. Tell us what happened to your family and how you found Sandcastles.
Well, when my daughter was 12 and my son was 16, their dad died unexpectedly. He was only 44, and it was quite a shock, and I really had no idea what to do to comfort my children. And so I went online just trying to find a group or some type of support service, and luckily I found Sandcastles, and we've been there ever since. My daughter's now 15.
And Sandcastles, you found them to be very welcoming, and it was easy to engage in their programming?
Well, obviously the first session was a little overwhelming. I didn't know what to expect. We walked in and I saw these kids and families that all had suffered such a great personal loss as well. And after maybe the first or second, I knew it was the best thing that I could have done for my children and myself.
And tell us how and why. What did you feel there? What did you experience?
Well, initially my children were so angry almost and hurt that their dad had just left, was gone. And they didn't really communicate with me, and they were bottling it all in. So I saw that they were able to go there. Well, my daughter, my 16-year-old, did not really engage as much, but my daughter jumped in and she was able to communicate and talk to other people her age. And I really felt that she was able to open up and feel better about just dealing with such a tragic loss.
And Alexis, I have daughters, and I just couldn't imagine how difficult it would be if I unexpectedly left them. So tell me about Sandcastles and how it affected you.
Well, Sandcastles is a group of people who are going through something so similar. It helps that you're allowed to experience the loss and go through the feelings with people who can relate and help you in a way that no one else really can.
So tell us how you were feeling when you went in there and the feeling that you got. Did you feel comfortable to open up and express yourself, or did you just sit and listen?
At first, it's different to go in and express your feelings and something so personal with people you don't know, but very quickly I realized that everyone there is going through a similar thing and we're all going through similar feelings, and it's so easy to open up to other people.
Tell us some of the activities that you do there that facilitate being able to open up.
Just different, sometimes we'll play games and we'll somehow interlock that with other experiences, or we'll go through scenarios about how we would help other people, and it all just brings everybody together.
And then you made a sand candle, right?
Yes, we had a We have also family events. We have the children are in group, and then the adults are in a group, but then sometimes we all come together and do family things. And one time we made a memory candle in memory of their dad, and we get to light for any special occasion or when we want their dad's presence to be there. We'll light it for birthdays, or if Alexis does something great or her brother does something great, we'll light the candle.
And Bridget, how have their services helped you as their mother?
Well, initially, I went to the service to help my daughter, not knowing that I would receive so much help as well. And so when I started going to the adult groups, I thought maybe this was something that I didn't need to do. But then I quickly found that talking to other parents who were living with children who were suffering such a great loss really gave me insight and ideas on how to help my children cope with it, and being able to talk about what I was going through and how sad I felt about the loss.
And so now you're able to, I'm assuming, able to help people who find themselves, like I find myself sometimes, when someone has experienced a loss, I don't always know what to say. Do I say, I'm sorry? Do I say, I'm praying for you? Does Sandcastles help you with that kind of thing?
Yes, because it definitely let me know that everyone grieves differently. So there's never any really right or wrong way to approach someone. It's just understanding that they are going through a grief. And if they respond a certain way, to go with it. And that's what Sandcastles allows us to do. Just no judgment and just express how we feel, and then we get feedback that really helps us.
And how long do you plan to continue going to Sandcastles?
Well, as long as my daughter and I can benefit from it. She's been there now for 3 years, and as a young adult who can quickly change their mind, for her to continue to want to go to Sandcastles, I know that it's giving her something, a release that she needs.
And Alexis, you can now, with all the experience you have at Sandcastles, sort of be an ambassador and tell other people about the program. Now you're on TV about the program. How does that make you feel?
It's definitely great to know that something like Sandcastles that helps me so much can help so many other people.
Thank you both for being here today and sharing your inspiring story of your personal loss. I'm sure it's going to help a lot of people when they watch this program. When we return after a short break, Peggy Nielsen is going to tell us about Sandcastles' annual Camp for Kids that helps them through the bereavement process. She'll be joined by 17-year-old Canyon Rowe, who will share his journey as a camper and a volunteer, right after the break.
I was feeling so alone.
I was going through a really difficult time.
I didn't want to bother anyone.
I didn't think they'd understand.
It was tough at first, but I did it.
I'm glad I asked for help.
I asked my teacher.
I asked my dad.
You can do this.
Whatever it is, ask for help.
If you're thinking about suicide or need support, call the Trevor Lifeline. Trained counselors are there to help 24/7.
It began with my big toe. That was my first amputation that I had.
Berger's disease, it's a vascular disease brought on by smoking.
My fingers started to go piece by piece.
First, it was my left leg. After my left leg, it was my right leg. And so now I'm a double amputee, all from smoking.
My tip to everyone is, don't believe that this can't happen to you, because it can.
You can quit. For free help, call 1-800-QUIT-NOW.
Stress, depression, and severe mental illness can happen to anyone. Team Mental Health Services has been helping those struggling with these conditions in southeastern Michigan. Within 24 hours of reaching out to our team, members receive psychiatric evaluations and begin the necessary treatment for recovery. Team Mental Health Services prides itself on going the extra mile for its members.
And it was towards the 6th court date. I finally stood up and said, I can handle this process the rest of the way. And it was all because of the motivation and encouragement I got from Team Mental Health staff.
Team Mental Health Services, because we care and you can.
Welcome back to My Healthy Mind. We're continuing our discussion about Sandcastles' grief support program for children and families in Metro Detroit with our program director, Peggy Nielsen, and we're joined by Canyon Rowe. Peggy, tell us a little bit about the camp associated with Sandcastles.
Henry Ford Hospice has been honored to be able to serve the kids for 19 years in a camp experience. So through Sandcastles, we've run 5 years ago, we actually became part of the Camp Aaron network, and there's over 40 Camp Aarons across the country, which is a great national tie-in, and and group to be part of. But our camp here is fantastic. It is a weekend camp. It's held each August, and we have incoming first through high school seniors who participate in it. We use community volunteers, again, who come and help us. But it is a weekend, and I would describe it as Sandcastle's program smashed into a weekend tied together with outdoor hiking and canoeing and adventure courses and rock walls and memorial services thrown in. It's a great chance for kids to get away, have that outdoor experience, and do some of their grief work and honoring of their person who died in a new and different way.
And Canyon, you are a counselor at Camp Aaron, correct?
Yes, I am. I'm a teen buddy.
A teen buddy. Can you tell us about your family's loss and what inspired you to work with Sandcastles?
Well, when my sister passed away, I attended Sandcastles camp, and it caught my attention because I was able to have a lot of fun and really enjoy myself at camp as well as deal with my grief. And when I was asked to be a teen buddy, I was reluctant because I've never been a counselor before, but I thought about how much it really did help me, and I would love to give back to that and help out where I can, because I felt as if having the teen buddy perspective, where being a teen buddy means that you've attended the camp as a camper, and then I was motivated to see what I could do, and it really turned out to be a great experience.
So tell us about how you were grieving the loss of your sister. What were you doing, feeling, and then how Sandcastles helped you ease through that?
Well, Sandcastles helped me see that I'm not the only one who's dealing with them, and no matter how special or different you may feel that your feelings are, someone else is feeling similar feelings, and they can relate to you, and they can help you see that you're not in this alone, because that's what held me up, is I felt as if I was the only one who felt this way, and I didn't want to add to any of the grief that I was seeing the people who I love experience, and I just tried to ignore my grief. But when I went to Sandcastles, opening up to other children my age, which was also something that helped, opening up to them helped me see that we're all dealing with feelings and we're all struggling after we've lost someone. And the only way to have those feelings be better is to talk about them and acknowledge them and see what kind of treatment and what kind of coping skills you'll need to develop to feel better.
And Sandcastles has obviously changed the life of Canyon, and it is also turning other peers into buddies or camp counselors as well. Tell us how that process of selection happens so that we know that he is a good candidate versus someone else.
Well, we use community volunteers who come, they go through our training, and they can work either as background helpers at camp, or they can actually be trained to work in the kids groups as facilitators. So this was our first year that we decided to do a teen buddy program, and actually Canyon was handpicked as one of the kids that had participated in our program before, and we wanted to see how it would work. And they were amazing. The role model that the kids had in looking up to Canyon and the other kids that came back, there were a total of 6 this year, they were great role models. They helped them to feel comfortable, to share, to see, to have hope for the future, and to have someone fun to be around, because I think you had a lot of fun too.
Canyon, I have a son your age, he's 17, and I just really admire your strength and courage to pull through and help other people. So good luck on your mission. It's really, really wonderful. And thank you both, Peggy and Canyon, for helping to raise the awareness of our viewers of the services that are available for children who are grieving.
Thank you for the opportunity.
When we return, we'll tell you more about how you can get in touch with Sandcastles to use their services or to volunteer. We'll be right back.
Sandcastles Camp Aaron Detroit is a bereavement camp for 1st through 12th graders who have experienced the death of a loved one. We come together for a weekend at Camp Tamarack in Ortonville. Our camp is run in collaboration with the Moyer Foundation and is part of the Camp Aaron network of over 40 camps across the United States. By the time we get to the camp closing ceremony, the kids have bonded and become friends. You can really see the growth and the healing that has taken place over just a few days. For our camp volunteers, it's a rewarding experience that won't soon be forgotten. Anyone interested in getting involved with Sandcastles as a family, as a camper, or as a volunteer can check out our website or give us a call. We'd be happy to give you more information and get you enrolled.
It began with my big toe. That was my first amputation that I had.
Berger's disease, it's a vascular disease brought on by smoking.
My fingers started to go piece by piece.
First it was my left leg. After my left leg, it was my right leg. And so now I'm a double amputee, all from smoking.
My tip to everyone is, don't believe that this can't happen to you, because it can.
You can quit. For free help, call 1-800-QUIT-NOW.
Welcome back to My Healthy Mind. Elizabeth, what a moving program today.
It really was.
I mean, who would have thought that a program like Sandcastles was there to help so many people?
It makes me think about when I was a child and I experienced loss, grandparents, aunts, uncles, and there was no mechanism for me to use that would help me overcome my sadness.
Yeah, when we were growing up, it was just cry, let's pray, but no one said, here's how you can get through it years later, decades later. You know, grief, like they said, can last a long time, and if you don't have an outlet, what do you do? So I'm really grateful that they came and joined us today.
I loved how when they talked about the simplicity of just talking about their feelings in a safe environment, it echoed the mission of My Healthy Mind, because we provide a forum for people to feel safe to talk about difficult issues.
And you know, it was exceptional because the young people were able to not only get help for their own grief, but became mentors and peers to others to help them through the process too. So it was really, really moving.
That was really impressive that a 10-year-old, a 12-year-old could help counsel another child through something that they've experienced.
Absolutely.
Michael, before we close today, we want to remind our My Healthy Mind viewers that there are no topics about mental health and wellness that are off limits on our show. In fact, we encourage you, our viewers, to let us know what you want to hear us talk about. Please visit our website at myhealthymind.com, and remember, you'll find some helpful resources along with a convenient way to contact us. We keep your information private. You can also follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Thank you again for joining us today.